For anyone who has read H.P. Lovecraft's work, you will know that the author took large amounts of inspiration from his historic New England surroundings, in turn creating tales of otherworldly monsters and hidden cities older than time. But what are these real-life places that he drew inspiration from? Well, today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 scary Lovecraftian towns in real life. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. And with that, let's jump in. Coming in at 5, Bradford College, Haverhill, Massachusetts. To quote H.P. Lovecraft in the Dunwich Horror, the curious manuscript record or diary of Wilbur Whately delivered to Miskatonic University for translation had caused much worry and bafflement among the experts in language both ancient and modern. Its very alphabet, notwithstanding a general resemblance to the heavily shaded Arabic used in Mesopotamia, being absolutely unknown to any available authority. Among the many locations shared in the world of Lovecraft, one of the most prominent is that of the prestigious Miskatonic University, featured in a number of the author's stories including the Dunwich Horror, At the Mountains of Madness and The Shadow of Time. The university is famous for its collection of occult tomes and eccentric staff such as Herbert West. Now all of this is based on the Massachusetts girls-only school called Bradford College, established in 1803 and remaining operational until the year 2000. The Bradford College was a verdant institution consisting mainly of brick and hidden tunnels. During the days of Lovecraft, Bradford was a finishing school for women, and while Miskatonic echoes Ivy League schools like Harvard and Yale, it is known that Lovecraft did spend time at the Bradford campus while he dated a student there. In his cosmic world, it is established that the Miskatonic is the only place to house the evil Book of the Dead, aka the Necronomicon. There is also a local legend that Lovecraft himself buried a real-life Necronomicon beneath Bradford College's small lake. Coming in at 4, Stephen Harris's house, Providence, Rhode Island. To quote H.P. Lovecraft in The Shunned House, and yet that house equals or outranks in horror the wildest fantasy of the genius who so often passed it unknowingly and stands starkly leering as a symbol of all that is unutterably hideous. Lovecraft's 1937 short story The Shunned House is the outlandish tale of a man obsessed with an abandoned colonial home which carries a history of death and misfortune. As the man investigates the object of his curiosity, he encounters an unearthly fungi, ghosts, and ultimately the remains of an unfathomable being. However, unlike many of the horror gods' tales, this one isn't so far from the truth. The Shunned House was actually based on the real-life home of colonial merchant Stephen Harris. Over the side of a former French Huguenot burial yard, the new home seemed to bring nothing but ill fortune to Harris and his family. As soon as construction was finished, it said that the merchant fell on hard financial times after losing a number of his trading vessels at sea. In addition to this material hardship, the Harris family saw the death of several children and the stillbirth of even more. Life continued down its cursed path for a while, with Harris's wife going mad and being confined to the upper floor of the dwelling. And local legend says that she could be heard ranting tirades in French, a language she didn't even know, just as Dr. Whipple is seen to do in Lovecraft's own story. Now the house still remains on Benefit Street, having been renovated numerous times over and over again, painted a placid yellow colour, echoing the haunted vapour described in the story. In at 3, Fleur de Lis Studio, Providence, Rhode Island. To quote H.P. Lovecraft in The Call of Cthulhu, it seemed to be a sort of monster or symbol representing a monster, of a form which only a diseased fancy could conceive. If I say that my somewhat extravagant imagination yielded simultaneous pictures of an octopus, a dragon, and a human caricature, I shall not be unfaithful to the spirit of the thing. Now this real-life location is referenced as the home of prophetic sculptor Henry Anthony Wilcox in Lovecraft's 1928 short story. In the story, the artist locks himself away in the studio while he sculpts a totem of the long-sleeping god Cthulhu based on his cosmic visions. The studio seems to look just the place to create such art. Fleur de Lis Studio was built in 1885 by painter Sidney Burleigh as a home and studio for the elite Providence Art Club. The building itself features one of the most eclectic facades in all of New England. The studio was wedged between various traditional colonial buildings, with the studio featuring a series of hand-carved bas-reliefs among a faux medieval oak grid. In addition to this, the building features many bizarre touches, such as small expressive face among the boards and bold yellow colour scheme. The building hasn't changed much since the days of Lovecraft, being preserved by the same century-old Providence Art Club that founded it. When you look at the building, it is easy to see why Lovecraft drew inspiration from it for one of the greatest pieces of works. Coming in at 2, Copp's Hill Burying Ground, Boston, Massachusetts. To quote H.P. Lovecraft in Pickman's model, God, how that man could paint. There was a study called Subway Accident in which a flock of the vile things were clambering up from some unknown catacomb through a crack in the floor of the Boston Street subway and attacking a crowd of people on the platform. Another showed a dance on Copp's Hill among the tombs, with the background of today. In the story of Pickman's model written back in 1927, a man named Thurber visits artist Richard Upton Pinkman and views his terrifying works of art depicting chilling graveyard scenes and eventually a ravenous ghoul that appears to be all too real. Pickman's underground studio is located in the crumbling north end of Boston, which is also the real-world location of Copp's Hill Burial Ground, mentioned in the story. The Copp's Hill graveyard is the second oldest cemetery in Boston, having been established back in 1659 and slowly expanded ever since. The land itself contains many notable graves, including those of Puritan minister Cotton Mather, as well as Robert Newman. During the time of Lovecraft, the graveyard would be drastically different from the popular tourist attraction it is now. The graveyard instead would have been overgrown ruins, arranged in an unnatural asymmetry, making it the perfect location for the Lovecraft story. However, if you were to visit today, you still might find some of the more oddly angled gravestones and over 272 tombs that will make you experience the unsettling vibe that inspired our favourite horror author. In at number 1, St. Patrick's Purgatory, Low Derg Island. To quote H.P. Lovecraft in The Rats in the Walls, sprawling on a light of stone steps so prodigiously worn that it was little more than an inclined plane at the centre was a ghastly array of human or semi-human bones. Those which retained their collocation as skeletons showed attitudes of panic fear, and overall were the marks of rodent gnawing. As most will know, almost all of Lovecraft's story take place in New England. However, he did find inspiration from afar, a place that is also steeped in hidden history. An example being his story The Rats in the Walls, written back in 1924, and takes place in an ancient English priory. The story centers on a character named Delapour as he returns to his family's ancestral home and discovers a hidden city of untold age beneath the estate, and a history of cannibalism which eventually overtakes him. Now, Lovecraft's description of Delapour's sinister estate and its subterranean secrets share similarities with the real-life holy site, St. Patrick's Purgatory. Founded in the 15th century, St. Patrick's Purgatory is said to be the location where St. Patrick discovered a gateway to hell and was shown terrible visions of its punishments. Surrounding the station island, the resulting church grounds maintained the worship and upkeep of the site for thousands of years, and even to this day it continues to be a popular pilgrimage site. The site also includes unique features such as a labyrinth, gendered dorms, and even a small shop. Now, it's highly doubtful that Lovecraft ever visited the location himself, but it is likely that some inspiration was drawn from the place, particularly by his contemporaries. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any scary Lovecraftian towns in real life that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 5 scary horror movies that ended careers. Michael Johnson said, "They should never have remade Psycho. Lucy, love you." Ain't that the truth? Why touch something that's great? Because of money? Well, it didn't make any, did it? So, sucks. JW said, "If you keep quoting Rotten Tomatoes, I will unfollow you." Well, to quote Rotten Tomatoes, I don't care. But please don't go. But I like Rotten Tomatoes. Because I like saying tomatoes. Ian Samuel said, "Bye bye man, bye bye career." Preach. Bye bye soul. Emo Glacian said, "Rest in peace to all those poor careers. Also, Lucy, you were in my dream last night. You were leading some kind of cult initiation ritual in my granddad's basement." What even? That wasn't a dream, that's just my Friday nights, so. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later.